to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic week wherever you are in this planet of ours. Here in Australia, we've officially hit winter and it's cold, and I don't particularly like the cold. I mean, it's not that bad, but I'll have a little whinge anyway because I like it to be summertime and hot, and we can, wear comfortable summer clothing instead of winter ones. But anyway, that's my little beef for the week. So I hope wherever you are in the world, the weather's being everything that you want it to be. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and enjoying the sunshine, I really, really do envy you. So this week we've got the Simply Tarot card of the week, which is called the Fool card. Now, the Fool card is one of those sort of ambiguous cards because people look at it and say, oh, I don't want to stand on the edge of a cliff and drop off. But the Fool is really there with his dog and his worldly possessions, and he's ready to take a giant leap forward. So it's good friends and happiness and needing to take a giant leap forward in your life. So there's many times in our lives, I think, where we need to give ourselves a little bit of a push or a shove or take a giant leap and sort of leap into the unknown and look at what might be ahead instead of sort of standing steadfast and fixed and rigid and stuck in our own life. We need to sort of uproot ourselves and say, okay, it's time to sort of look at things in a very exciting sort of way. Let's take that giant leap into the unknown. Let's sort of see where it takes us. Sometimes some of the greatest things that happen in our lives happen by accident, things that we weren't planning, that we get to an intersection or we get to a corner or a junction in our lives and we say, which way will I go? Oh, any, oh, I'll go that way. And we go that way, and it turns out to be the most exciting adventure that we've ever had. Well, that's what this card represents. It's like you've got all your worldly goods with you, your dog, you're standing on the edge of the cliff and you're saying, okay, what universe, I'm ready to take that leap of faith. I'm ready to jump into the unknown. I'm ready to sort of do something different and look at something completely different in my life than what I have been doing recently. And I think that's a really nice card to come out in the middle of the year where some of us feel a little bit stuck. We've got through our New Year's resolutions. We've got to the middle of the year. It's like the hump part of the year and sort of saying, what's next? Well, this is sort of saying, have a good look around, do something different, dare to be different, dare to sort of take a leap of faith. And you might just be very pleasantly surprised at the other end where it takes you. I mean, for not all of us, it's going to be great. But, look, I think sometimes just the anticipation of trying something new is as good as the destination. I know I like to have new challenges on my desk all the time. I'm one of those people that I need a new mountain to climb very, very often, I might say, because not so much I get bored, but I like to keep things fresh and inviting and different and invigorating because I think that's what keeps you young. And if you can keep yourself positive, I think you've got a lot better life ahead of you that way, no matter what your age is. So this week, astrologically, I'm going to say we've got a really, really big week. It is a big week. I mean, I've been saying that for a long time, but it seems to be for all the years I've been in astrology, I've never known such combinations of planets as we're seeing now, where things are really sort of moving and asking people to sort of really question who they are, where they're going, what they're about, looking at their health, looking at their surroundings, looking at how much money do I need? Am I looking at things through the right lens these days, or have I become lopsided in the way that I'm looking at things? I've been speaking to a lot of people in the last couple of weeks where they're really reevaluating their lives, and there's not one particular star sign that jumps out. It seems to be right across the 12 signs that everybody's got everything up for grabs. Everybody's questioning everything. And look, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's probably a good thing, because if we go through life blind and don't ever question anything or don't ever change anything, wouldn't life be very boring? And I think, for a lot of people, it's sort of like, well, I thought I was comfortable, but now all of a sudden I don't want that anymore. I want something new. I want something fresh. I want something exciting. So that maybe is a good thing. So happy birthday to all the Geminis. It is your time of the year to shine. It's, happy birthday to Geminis, and I have lots of Gemini friends, and they always keep you entertained because they always know what's going on in the local area, and they're usually full of excitement and anticipation and sort of don't stand still long enough to let the grass grow under their feet. And I suppose that's one of the more lovable traits of Gemini, is that they are always fast moving and thinking and sort of get us out of our ruts a little bit. And I think we need that a little bit as well. So we're now going to work with a stallion of I was going to say planets, but they're not all planets. A stellium of planets and Arabian parts and a node, a moon's node together. Now, this is sitting in Virgo. Now, Virgo is an energy where a lot of people give Virgos a lot of bad press. Look, Virgos can be very analytical, they can be very practical, very logical, sort of they don't always wear their heart on their sleeve. That doesn't mean that they're not sensitive, caring people underneath all this. They just exude this air of confidence in a quiet sort of way that, okay, well, I don't need to get yelling and screaming and jumping and dancing, but I am excited. Can't you see it on my face? I've got a little smile. I'm excited. So, don't underestimate a Virgo. We need them in our lives because they teach us how to be critical, but they also teach us about, the finer details of our health and our lifestyle and our diet and things like that, that they're really fanatical quite often with those sort of things of watching what they eat. And quite often they can bring on illnesses that sometimes are a little bit psychosomatic, but not always. Virgos are usually so, they know every gram that's in everything that they're going to eat and what nutritional values in it. And, look, I wouldn't eat that because there's no nutrition in it, but it tastes nice. You know what I mean? They're very analytical in that way. So we've got the moon, the emotional planet, is sitting there, and it won't be there for much more than about 15 hours, is conjunct or holding hands the part of fortune, which is conjunct or holding hands the moon's south node. So what this means in layman's terms, and it doesn't matter whether you're okay, we're going to look at this, is going to really affect Virgos, Capricorns, and Tauruses. The opposite sign is Pisces, but it's going to wash over the other remaining signs. So we will all feel the effects of this. So the moon is emotions. Emotions can be up or down. They're not always positive and they're not always negative. It just means that we're going to be dealing with something on an emotional front. Now, for most of us, this will be conjunct the part of fortune. Now, what the part of fortune means is the fact that it's not where we're going to find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow with the leprechaun. That would be nice. But it means where we're looking to aspire to bring something into our lives that is like something that we feel is our part of fortune, something that we've been aspiring to. So this has got an emotional twist. So this is sort of saying if the emotions are involved, make sure that you're critical, you look at it very carefully, sidestep the emotion out of it a little bit, try and look at it through very practical, logical Virgo type of eyes, and that will help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. Now, when we're saying it's conjunct to the moon's south node, what this means is where we're coming from. It's not necessarily what we haven't completed in other lifetimes or whatever. It's saying this is dredging things up from the past. This is dredging things up from deep down in the pit of your stomach. Where have you come from? What lessons were you trying to achieve? What were you trying to bring forward? So if we look at it in this way, we've got the emotions there that we've got to deal with. We've got an opportunity here to bring some sort of resolution into our lives that we sort of feel as if we've had a little bit of a win here with the part of fortune. And it's saying to us the only way that we've been able to achieve this has been by looking at where we've come from. Where did we come from? What were we doing? How have we improved our lives, or what are we aiming to achieve? And with this, it is quite emotional. Now, for some people, it'll be a positive emotion, and for other people, it'll be dredging up stuff that old emotions, old things, old worn out things that you thought, gee, I thought I'd let go of that a long time ago. But what it's showing you is that you're now strong enough for it to come to the conscious part of your mind and to be looked at and dealt with and let go of. So that's a real positive. So don't look at anything that comes up in the next 12 to 15 hours as a negative. Look at the emotions, look at the memories, look at the things that are being dragged up, no matter what your star sign, and look at it as a positive way that we're finally putting it into perspective and we're able to release it. Some of the things that will dredge up may be very positive, may be useful, may be things that we can implement in this part of our journey. And that's great too. So don't look at it as one size fits all. It's going to manifest in each and every one of us in very, very different ways. So we're going to be looking now at Chiron. Now, Chiron's, again, another Arabian plant, but this is where we look for where we've all been wounded in our chart. It's, whether we've brought in past life things, if you believe in reincarnation, as I do, we all come in with, I believe, a certain amount of karmic debt we've got to repay before we can get into the good stuff. And this is what Chiron's about. Chiron's asking you to fix that wounded part of your soul. Now, because Chiron is in Aries at the moment, it is going to be affecting the fire signs more than anybody. So that's Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra. Now, Chiron is also conjunct or holding hands Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. So Chiron here is asking each and every one of us, regardless of your sign, but more predominantly the fire signs and Libra, is asking us to dig deep into our soul. Again, a very emotional sort of journey. So it's backing up on top of what we've just been talking about with the moon and that stellium of planets and Arabian parts and nodes, that we have to continue on with the work. So Chiron here is asking soul, look at what's sort of actually happening and asking us to sort of look at healing this in some sort of way. It may have an emotional connection, it may have a love connection. When we talk about Venus, the planet of love and affection, we're not always talking about our personal relationships. We're talking about the loving relationship we can have with anybody. You can have a loving relationship with your sister or your brother. Doesn't mean that you're having a bedroom activity. I'm not always talking about bedrooms here. We're talking about a loving connection. You can have a loving connection with your neighbor or the woman that works at the supermarket. You get on well together. But, it's somebody that it's probably a little bit more of a connection than the lady at the supermarket, but somebody that you share some of your deeper thoughts with. So with Aries here, it's asking us to look at it in a very me first way. So it's take it back to me before I can look at how it affects you. Now, that's really, really important here because it's your journey, it's your issues, it's your healing that needs to take place. And some of it, may manifest itself in, health issues, and sort of that's the way we're releasing things. It's not always just about emotions. Emotions can manifest in other physical ways besides sort of us being upset or being happy or doing the happy dance. Sometimes it manifests itself in the ways of, physical ailments in the body. And this is why Chiron's here. He's asking you to heal whatever it is. And some of it is connected to loving connections or emotional connections we've had with other people. Mercury is in Gemini, and that's really interesting because Mercury rules Gemini, and Mercury loves to be in Gemini, loves to sort of share all the knowledge and the wisdom, and this is what's happening, and here's the garden fate, and did you know there's a band playing down at the local, and all the different things that are going on in the local area. So Mercury feels really comfortable here, and he's quite excited, I think, that sort of, lots of people have got, emotional issues that we've just been discussing going on, but then there's other people that are flitting ideas around in their mind saying, is it time to make a change? Should I change my job? Should I stay where I'm living? Should I buy a car? Should I do this? Oh, no, well, we'll do that next week. But it's like lots of, like a slideshow of opportunities or ideas coming into your life. It's like getting your cell phone and sort of going slide, slide, slide. And that's what you're doing in your mind. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. We also have Jupiter, the planet of luck and opportunity, is also sitting in Gemini. So, of course, this is going to be what I've just been talking about with Mercury is going to affect the air signs, which is Gemini, Libra and Aquarius, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So the same is going to apply here with Jupiter. Then it washes over the other remaining signs. So it's not as if you're Scorpio, you're not getting any of the influence, you're getting a watered down version of it. So Jupiter in Gemini is asking us to think outside the square, look at new opportunities. There'll be lots of things that might cross your desk, new opportunities. You don't have to take on board all of them, but give them in the airtime, give them a look and say, yes or no, that's for me, no, it's not. Well, then move on to the next thing. Don't get bogged down on why your answer is no, or it doesn't suit you, or it's not right. You've given it the airtime, give it the flick, and then move on and allow other things to come into your life too, because that's really important. Finally, we're going to wrap up with Mars in Leo. Now, Mars has been sitting in Leo for a while now, and I want to bring this up again because I think we all need to get out of our complacency sometimes, and Mars is the planet that makes us do that. Mars is like our ego. It gets us out of bed of a morning. It says, come on, get out of bed, you lazy thing. It's time to get the day started. You've got a million things to do today. And with Mars being in Leo, because it is such a planet of action, and Leo really likes to strut their stuff and sort of take center stage and say, look at me, look, aren't I wonderful? Did I tell you that I'm amazing on stage and I've got all these gifts I can bring? So it's a really positive energy for Mars. Mars can really sort of take center stage and show the world what he's made of. Now, this is predominantly going to affect their fire signs, Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, and the opposite sign of Aquarius. And it will filter through over the other remaining 8 signs, and you might find all of a sudden you've got this burst of confidence or know-how that you didn't have yesterday, and you think, oh, I wonder where that came from. Don't question where it came from. It might only be fleeting, so grab it with both hands and use it while you can. And it's a really important time because if you're looking to sort of get people to take a bit more notice of you, you will find that's happening. And, you know, a lot of people that are in prominent positions find that they get more job offers at this time because all of a sudden it's like your name's up in lights. Everybody wants a piece of you. Doesn't mean everybody deserves a piece of you. So that's where we're going to leave the astrology this week. I hope that's been helpful. We're going to take our first caller. We're going to talk with Patricia in Phoenix, Arizona in the USA. Are you there, Patricia?
I am.
Hello. Do you have a question I can answer for you,
Hello.
please, Patricia? Hello.
I don't know if it's, you hear me? You
Yes,
hear
I can
me?
hear you, Patricia. Yeah.
Oh,
Do you
thank
have a
goodness.
question I can answer for you, sweetie?
So I've got a lot of upheaval in my life right now. I'm trying to figure out. So this gentleman I've been with for 3 years, he's very elusive. He has a hard time with emotion
Mhm.
and verbalizing anything at all. And we've been on and off, on and off, and on and off. I just kind of want to know where I stand, and am I fighting a losing battle?
Okay. Do you mind just sharing with me his first initial, please, sweetie?
Um,
Okay, great. Yeah, it just helps me tune into his soul. It's really, really interesting because I want to say to you, hang in there, but there's another part of me that says, you know, why? Why would you do that? Do you know what I mean? As I enter into his soul, he's showing me he wants change in his life. He's showing me that he believes he's been actively working on change and making his life more full and more complete. And I want to argue and say, well, show me what you've done. I don't feel he's actually done anything. It's all been in his head. It's all been in his imagination. And I think this is what
mm,
you're picking up. You know, like he doesn't give you anything to work with. He doesn't give you anything to hang on to. He hasn't sort of said in 6 months we'll do this or we'll do that or whatever. And you sort of think, well, you know, I gain a couple of inches and I think I'm making progress. And then all of a sudden it comes to a dead standstill, almost to the point where I feel like I'm going backwards. And this is why you're now at this point, Patricia, where you're questioning whether or not this is right for you. You know, it's not as if it's a brand new relationship and you're still getting to know each other. You've given this man a lot of time, a lot of your energy, and a lot of, I'm going to say, a lot of rope. You know, you've given him a lot of leeway there to sort of show you what he wants, you know, to sort of make some plans, to sort of include you in them, to sort of, you know, you've given him every opportunity to sort of to extend a conversation. And it's like I hit a brick wall all the time. Look, I can't say to you that, you know, you should walk away from him. What I can share with you is what I'm being given. It's ultimately your decision. But to me, it feels empty. It feels like I've got this big, big, you know, giant vase, but there's nothing in the middle. There's no water, there's no flowers, it's just air. And I believe you need more than that, Patricia. You know, it's sort of like you're such a loving, giving sort of person. And what I'm picking up from your soul at the moment is it's like somebody's taken all the air out of you. And that's not a good thing. I want to see that sparkle back in Patricia. I want to see that zest for life and, you know, having plans and getting ready for things and being excited again. It's a long time since you felt excited, isn't it, with him?
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And that's not good, Patricia. It's not good at all because you're giving away who you are for what? You're not getting much in return, sweetheart.
Getting older.
Yeah, okay, you're getting older. We all are by the second, but it's not even that so much. It's like, it's not as if you haven't given everything of you that you can possibly give to this man. You've done that in spades. What has he given you in return? You know, if we put it on a scale of 1 to 100, he might be lucky if he got to a 10. You know, where you've given him 96%, he's given you, if we're lucky, 10%. That's not a good equation. Look, I know I just said that I can't tell you what to do, but what I can share with you, if you were to make a decision to say, right, that's it, whenever that was with him, the universe will bring someone else in for you. They're showing me that a few months after, if you were to make this decision, there will be somebody that will come in with dark hair that's very loving and somebody that you'll be having a great time with. You know, it'll be all your dreams will come true. You'll be able to tick them all off. You know, you've got somebody that's fun to be with, somebody that wants to be with you, somebody that enjoys being with you, makes you laugh. You know, you go out, you have fun. It's not always about how much money we spend when we go out. I mean, you know, you can take a sandwich to the park and
Hmm.
still have a great day. and a bottle of pop. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not about money. It's about spending quality time with that person that makes you smile, makes your heart sing, and I just don't feel this man does that for you. Where the next one, it's completely different. Right from the time that you meet him, you feel alive again. You feel yourself smiling, you feel yourself thinking, oh, gee, I wonder what I'm going to wear when we next go out. You know what I mean? There's an excitement in the air. And that's what life should be about. Even if you've been with someone forever, they still should be able to ignite that excitement in you because you love being with them. They bring the best out in you. If somebody doesn't do that, then that's not right for you because you need somebody that makes your heart sing. I'm not saying life is always a bed of roses. It isn't. We all always have issues and situations we have to deal with. But, you should be able to work through those together and still smile at the end of it, still get excited when they walk into the
Yeah.
room even after 20 years. This man doesn't do that for you, sweetie.
Agreed.
Yeah, and it's hard
Agreed.
because you've invested so much time and, you're one of those people that likes to rescue people, Patricia, and it's now time to stop rescuing, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah. I
We've
think
got
he
to
feels like
rescue
he's doing
Patricia.
that for me, but he's not.
No, he's not. He's not doing that for you, sweetie. And look, it's not for me to say walk away. It's for me to sort of point out to you what I picked up from his soul, what I picked up from your soul, and then ultimately it's your decision. But I don't think I've said anything to you today that you haven't already thought of yourself.
I know. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, sweetie. Lovely to talk to you, and I wish you well, and I'll keep you in my prayers. So we're going to talk with Maya in Omaha, Nebraska, in the USA. Are you there, sweetie? And I'm sorry, I probably pronounced your name wrong.
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
Um, just a general.
Okay, but it's easier for me if you've got a question that you want answered. You usually phone into the show because there's something troubling you or something you'd like it answered. I mean, I can just generally poke
Yes,
around, but I just want to make sure that there's something that I'm getting to the reasons why you wanted a reading, sweetie.
yes, my relationship.
Right. Okay. Do you mind sharing with me that person's first initial, please, sweetie?
Yes, it's Champ.
Okay. All right. The first thing I'm picking up is there's been a lot of tears there. Has there been tears from your part, or has it been collectively the relationships created tears?
I'm sorry.
The first thing that they're sharing with me is a lot of tears. Is it you that's been in tears, or is it the
Yes,
relationship itself that's has been difficult? Okay, it's you that's been
it's
in tears.
it's
All
me.
right. Look, they're not showing me that that's necessarily a bad thing, sweetie. They're showing me that in a positive way, that's a good thing because you're releasing things instead of letting them be sort of built up. When I push a bit further past that point, I want to sort of say to you, I'm not sure that this other person really understands why you've been upset. Is that how you see
Yes,
it? That they say, yeah, 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 and then they want to move on to something else. It's like they haven't got time to stop and look and understand or even try and help you work through this or work through it with you. It's sort of like they dismiss you. And I don't like that because if somebody's in tears or somebody's upset, there's a reason for that. We should at least give them the time to sort of explain why that's happening or ask them what's wrong. And I just feel that you keep being dismissed. It's like, well, go away. We've dealt with that, and we haven't dealt with anything at all. I'm going to say the other person's quite selfish, darling. They only seem to consider their needs. They don't ever bring into what you might need. Is that how you see it as well?
yes,
And that's really not good because, look, all relationships go through their ups and downs. There's no one on the planet that can tell me that they've had a perfect relationship. But we should be there for the other person. We shouldn't just dismiss them. We shouldn't just sort of make lighthearted of, oh, well, they're upset, they'll get over it and I'll go and mow the lawn. Like you've got to put something into the relationship. To me, this relationship that you're in, sweetie, is very unbalanced. You're the one doing all the giving, the other person's doing all the taking, and there's not a lot left in the middle for you. very little coming back to you. And look, I appreciate that you mightn't feel ready yet to make a final decision to sort of say, well, I've had enough of this and I've got to, draw a line under it and move on, because that's a big decision too. And to me, this is not something new, though. I think this has been a sort of an on again, off again, or on again, off again with emotions all the way through this relationship. There's not really been a lot of good times, has there?
Yes, you're right all the way. We also have a daughter together, and he's
Yeah.
been doing not okay, and he comes and sees me
Yeah.
and sees her, but don't give her as much attention. I just feel like he's using me to use me, for his needs and his own personal, you know.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I just don't know
Yes,
what to
I
do.
know.
It's kind of hard because, yes, we've been through a lot together, and yeah.
I think it's always hard when there's a child involved, because we automatically want to try and make the world right for our children. That's just who we are as parents. I don't care what your race, your religion, your creed, your colour is. That's just inbuilt in parents, that we want to give our child the best possible opportunities. And I think in some ways we cloud our judgment then. We try and stay with the partner, the father of the child, because we sort of think, oh, well, that's best for the child. Look, darling, I've been doing this work a very, very long time, and I can assure you that's not the answer. If this person makes you this miserable, you're transferring that to your daughter. Do you want her to grow up and fall in love with people that are a carbon copy of the relationship that you've been going through, because that's all she knows, that's all she's seen? And I'm pretty sure your answer is no. So you have to look at it that children are more resilient than what we give them credit for. Even babies are more resilient than what we give them credit for. They pick up on things. They pick up on the energy, the
Yes.
tension, the whatever. Dad comes over to visit, he gives me a pat in the head and an ice block and off he goes. Like, they remember those things, and that's what gets embedded in their soul. So I think the best thing that you can do is put you and your daughter first. That's the most important thing you have to do. By doing that, I
I
think
do.
then you'll start to feel that your life is starting to unravel in a much, much better way. They are showing me there's new love coming for you, but it's not this year, sweetie. It's towards the early part of 2026. And I want to say to you, that's what we need to aspire to. But you're doing really well. Sweetie, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. I'll keep you in my prayers, but I know that you're going to get stronger each day, and you'll start to make some more informed choices for you and your daughter. So that was lovely to talk with our callers today. Today, I want to leave you with a song that's a pretty ancient old song, and so it shows my age again. And before I do the show, I never know what the song's going to be. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I've had a song rolling around in my head for a week, or driving me nuts, or keeps turning up on my laptop. But this week, I sort of scrolled through and I sort of waited for the song to jump out and grab me out of my song list. And it's a very old one, and it's really appropriate. And I always find Spirit guides us with what we need, or what the song sort of is appropriate for some of our callers, or a theme of the show, or whatever. This week, interestingly enough, it's called Make It With You by Bread. So, we've had two ladies on the phone that are in crisis situations with relationships, trying to make their relationship work. So it's interesting that song correlates with that. But sometimes we have to make choices and decisions that are based on what our needs are. So no matter what choices you might be facing, and quite often readings we do on the show relate to 1,000 other people around the world that are in a similar situation. So until next week, enjoy this very beautiful old classic song by Bread called Make It With You. Until next week, bye for now.